This series of videos in the countdown to polling day, December 12th, conclude in a detailed seats forecast for the Tories, Labour, Lib Dems and SNP. Analysis and forecast based on 9 key lessons learned from 2017 general election that I covered in an earlier video, whereas the opinion polls have consistently been wrong for now 4 UK elections in a row and thus should be ignored, whilst the most accurate predictor of UK elections has consistently been my house prices based forecasts and average earnings growth. For this election, the 9 key lessons learned resolve into 5 pieces of in-depth analysis that aim to accurately forecast the outcome of the December 12th vote, of which 3 pieces of analysis have already been completed, including my UK house prices based core forecast that was first made available to patrons who support my work on the 24th of November 2019. So for immediate first access to all of my analysis and trend forecasts, then do consider becoming a patron by supporting my work for just $3 per month. Boris Johnson finally managed to persuade a frightened of the electorate Labour Party to agree to hold a snap UK general election on the 12th of December 2019. An election that Johnson originally planned to hold mid-October ahead of the 31st October Brexit deadline. But extreme paralysis that has been the state of Westminster since June 2017 dragged out the painful process for another couple of months as Britain missed yet another Brexit deadline. The latest poll of polls puts the Tories on 42%, Labour on 30%, the Lib Dems on 15%, with a trend in the Tories' favour, which pollsters continue to go on to extrapolate into the Tories winning the election, typically on a majority of 70 seats, as illustrated by electoralcalculus.co.uk. Only one problem: we've been here before. Deja vu. We've been here exactly before. As Electoral Calculus forecast from the day before the June 2017 general election illustrates, that was typical of pollsters' forecasts of the time. So as Theresa May would say, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Cut and paste opinion polling, cut and paste forecasts, and likely a cut and paste outcome. All the opinion pollsters without exception got the 2017 general election very badly wrong, just as they had the 2015 and 2010, and not to mention the EU referendum, when John Curtis called it for Remain for 52% to 48%. So just like 2017, 2019 is supposedly predictable, a definite shoo-in for the Tories. Maybe the pollsters will get this one right. After all, they've been wrong 4 times in a row. Even a coin toss is right half the time. You know how it goes. If everyone's betting on one market direction, then more likely than not, the outcome's going to be in the opposite direction. So why UK house prices are the most accurate predictor of UK general elections. The 2015 general election. The polling establishment and the mainstream media had in unison proclaimed the 2015 general election was too close to call, one where the Labour and Conservative parties were neck and neck, and where even if the Conservatives managed to pull a handful of seats ahead, would still lose by default, as they would not be able to form a majority even with Lib Dem support, and therefore the Labour Party appeared destined to win the 2015 general election, all of which was based on a year of opinion polls that consistently presented this consensus view right up until the polls closed. As a reminder, the consensus was for the Conservatives to win just 270 seats, where even the BBC's exit poll after the polls closed at 10 PM proved wrong by forecasting the Conservatives would fail to win an outright majority on 316. Instead, the reality proved to be the exact opposite, as instead of Ed Miliband walking into number 10, we had David Cameron racing back to number 10 before the locks were changed, and where this video explained in detail why the opinion posters got the UK general election 2015 so badly wrong, which was contrary to my long-standing expectation for a probable Conservative outright election win. Meanwhile, UK house prices accurately forecast the 2015 election result, as my market skewed perception accurately forecast the outcome of the UK general election based on my house prices trend trajectory forecast a good 18 months before voting day. Whilst for the 2017 general election, my UK house prices momentum analysis warned that expectations for an increased Tory majority was unlikely to materialise. Instead, the Tories were likely at best to gain just a handful of seats.
Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Let's be clear. We have not changed the principles that we set out in the Manifesto.
And as for forecasting the UK general election for this year, 2019, so at the core of my extensive analysis on this general election is what the UK housing market is saying in terms of the most probable outcome of this general election. Will Boris Johnson get his Brexit done majority, or will Corbyn go into coalition with the Scottish independence fanatics who are hell-bent on seeing Scotland commit suicide that would make issues such as Northern Ireland's border look like a picnic? It is now over a year since I last looked at UK house prices momentum, that's November 15, 2018, where whilst Westminster had been paralysed as a consequence of Brexit chaos, nevertheless warned to ignore establishment fear propaganda at the time ahead of the then EU exit date of 29th of March 2019. Fear mongering right from the Bank of England downwards, with Mark Carney literally warning of a 35% crash in UK house prices during 2019.
Scenario compared to that May 2016 trend. Despite this sharp contraction in GDP, something that's bigger than happened during the financial crisis, unemployment rises to 7.5%, less than during the financial crisis, and that reflects the supply-driven nature of the downturn. The sharp fall in sterling, alongside with the imposition of tariffs, pushes up the cost of imports, and overall CPI inflation peaks at 6.6%. In line with its remit, the MPC does what's necessary to achieve its inflation target, with bank rate rising sharply to 5.5% in a disorderly scenario, although again I'll remind you that that is a mechanical calculation.
Instead, momentum analysis concluded in expectations for a mild gain of about 3% for the year. And so a year on, all of the doom in the run-up to the start of 2019 and since, the UK house prices graph shows that average house prices have not crashed by 35% or 25%, but instead trended in line with my expectations towards a net gain of about 3% on release of December data, with house prices currently standing up on the year at plus 2.3%. Now the rest of this analysis has first been made available to patrons who support my work. So for immediate first access to all of my analysis and trend forecasts, then do consider becoming a patron by supporting my work for just $3 per month. And also remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel for the next video in this series as we count down to the 12th December general election.